Hi, I'm Catherine.
And I'm Gail, and welcome to Women Over 70 Aging Reimagined, our award-winning weekly podcast. Visit womenover70.com and learn how you may become engaged with our community through our Aging Reimagined Circle. We hope to see you at our next online monthly program. And today we'd like to thank Women's Connection. Women's Connection is a nonprofit group with chapters around the country. Members are vibrant, accomplished women aged 50 and forward, who connect around common interests, empower each other to thrive, and stick together as they travel through the stuff of life, no matter what comes their way. WomenConnecting.org.
And today we're really excited to be talking with Karen Gershowitz, age 73. She's a New York City native, and she's a travel writer and travel photographer and all around, I quote, travel addict who doesn't want treatment. Karen has traveled to 100 countries, many of them numerous times. Her first two travel books, Travel Mania and Wanderlust, explore, as she says, how travel has changed my beliefs and life direction. Karen's working on a third travel book about how and why to travel as a senior. And she's offering the message that senior travel is doable and fun. Well, travel is Karen's fourth career. She switched from ceramics to marketing research and then to marketing strategy. And she's just returned from a trip to Taiwan with her teenage nephew. So welcome, Karen, to Women Over 70 Aging Reimagined. Both Gail and I have the Wanderlust, as do many of our listeners. So we're really eager to hear about your adventures and your insights.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
You've been traveling often alone since your first trip to Europe when you were only 17. So can you give us some background about how and why did travel become such a strong passion of yours?
Well, to be honest, I left New York at age 17. I was, a boomer kid, and they were trying to get us through the school system. So I graduated high school at 15, went to college for a year, and realized I was way too young. It's a very long story, but it was just a mistake. So I decided that and New York was a tough place to be, and I was going to school at Pratt, which is in the middle of Bedford-Stuyvesant, which at the time was a very, very rough neighborhood. And I decided I wanted to go as far away as I could, but it had to be somewhere my parents would actually let me go. So I ended up in the Netherlands because they had been doing some business there and they knew it. I was there for about 2 months, decided it was not for me, not the Netherlands, which I loved, but the school was just the wrong fit. And so I decided I'm not coming home. I'm going somewhere else. I went to London and I ended up staying there for 3 years. Now, if you were in London in the late 60s, early 70s and a student, you could travel anywhere for next to nothing. And when I say, they had Frommer's $5 a day, you could literally do it for $5 a day. And so I was traveling all the time when I was in Europe, and it became, this is amazing. This is really fun. I love meeting other people and the foods and the culture and the music and the architecture. It was, to me, that was the most fun of anything I did. And then when I was in college and I was studying ceramics, my professor went on a trip to Japan, which is, for many people, the epicenter of ceramics. I think there are other places, but that's another story. And I managed to travel everywhere, not knowing a word of Japanese, in places where I was basically illiterate. I couldn't read anything, couldn't speak with anyone, but I managed to get around the country. And I was like, wow, if I can do this, I can go anywhere. And after that, there were no holds barred. It was like, I'm going, I love it. I want to keep traveling. And that became a true guiding passion in my life. I changed jobs because of it. I dumped boyfriends because of it. There was no part of my life that was not somehow affected by this extreme passion to get to see the world. And, it has never stopped.
How many countries have you visited?
It was 100, yes. It's my 100th country. Yeah.
I am.
Many times.
And some of them, I was going to Australia and friends were saying, oh, well, you should go do this, you should go do that. I said, I hate to tell you this, but this is my 8th trip to Australia. And they would look at me and like, 8 times? You've been to Australia 8 times? Yeah. 3 times for fun and 5 times for business, because I did change my career from ceramics to marketing and made it a point to get international clients because I wanted to travel. I wanted somebody else to pay for it. So that was the easiest way to do it.
Very smart.
Yeah, well, that was one of my questions. How in the world do you finance this much travel?
Yes. Well, first of all, one of my jobs, my boss had been right before that the executive vice president of marketing at American Airlines. And he was the one with his team who developed American Advantage, which was the first of all of the programs, the flight programs, the hotels, all of the loyalty programs all came out from that. And he said, you have to join. You absolutely have to join. And I never heard of it. Anyhow, I've got a very, very low number on American Airlines loyalty program. And they were giving out, because they were promoting it, double, triple miles for everything. And I was flying business all over the world. So those miles got to be I got hundreds and thousands. I now am what they call platinum for life because I have officially flown over 2 million miles on American. And I've flown between all the other airlines more than that. So that paid for a lot of flights. And whenever I was going somewhere new, I would arrange it because I was either a partner in a consulting firm or I had my own firm. I would arrange it so that I could spend 3 or 4 days in country just traveling while I was there. I was already there. That was the expensive part.
Besides the early years in London, what's the longest stretch that you've lived in a given place?
New York.
New York?
It's literally, I went to college in the Midwest. I did my graduate work in upstate New York. And then I came back to the New York area. I mean, I'm a New Yorker through and through. There's no getting away from that one. Born and raised and absolutely love the city. And I lived outside in one of the suburbs for quite a long time. And I was like, nope, I'm moving back into the city.
You like to say you're an ordinary person. This does not sound ordinary to me.
Well, I mean, ordinary in the sense that I didn't have any, before this all started, I had no particular skills, but I got very brave because of traveling. Mm-hmm. It really gave me a sense of the ability to tackle anything and take risks, and including going out in my own business. Why did I want to go out in my own business? Because I wanted 10 weeks vacation a year. And there was no way I could do that, even in a partnership. It just wasn't going to happen. And, somebody had said to me a long time ago, life is not a dress rehearsal. You don't get to redo it. So you better do what you want while you can. And unfortunately, I had a cousin die very young. I had a couple of friends die very young. My mother didn't live very long. And so I got the message that do things if you want to do it, do it.
Tell us about your books. Tell us about
Wanderlust and Mania.
And Mania, yes.
Yeah. Well, Mania started, I always loved to write, and I'd been keeping a journal. My mother got me into journal writing when I was 8 years old. We went on a trip to Florida. She said, you're not going to remember it. You better write it down. And I did little drawings, and I still have it, by the way. And it got me into a lifelong habit, not on business trips, but personal trips. I write every single day. And I had them all transcribed. I had a transcriptionist for my business. So I had her do every one of my journals. So I have every journal from age 8 on my computer. People say to me sometimes, how do you remember the details of all of this? Well, got a great journal to go back to. The first book came about from just writing travel stories. I love doing it, and I started writing it and took lots of workshops and was in writing groups. And finally, people in my writing group were getting annoyed with me because I was not getting punished. And they absolutely insisted. I mean, they were incredible about it. When I retired at the end of 2019 with the idea of traveling for 2 years, and we know what happened to that idea, best laid plans. But it allowed me to finish the books. The first book, which got published in 2021. And it's travel stories. It's things that happen that are either funny or I learned things or very emotional. But they are my life. It's a travel memoir, but literally told in travel stories. So you want to know where I went and what it was like, you get that. You want to know what the reaction was to being in particular situations, you get that. And what my motivation was for going to certain places. Because you mentioned that I just came back from Taiwan. Well, I have 5 nephews and a niece. And when each one of them graduated high school, their graduation present was a trip to wherever they wanted to go. And which was fabulous. It was a great way of building bonds and really introducing them to not ordinary travel, because I don't travel the way most people do. And so now the next generation, the oldest one just graduated high school. So he got to choose where he wanted to go, and he'd been studying Chinese for 4 years. So off we went to Taiwan.
Tell me what is different about the way you travel than ordinary people?
I show up somewhere and I often have no idea what I'm going to do when I get there. I know maybe 2 or 3 things that I'd like to do, but I don't have a set plan. I like having things just happen. And I'll give you an example of something that happened when I was just in Taiwan. I had arranged for a cooking class, which was wonderful. And we both absolutely loved it, and the tour of the market. And she mentioned that there's a brewery and it's a really fun place to go. Go walk over to the brewery. So we get to the brewery and we're walking through the property, and a guy comes by on a bicycle and says, "Would you like some free beer? Follow me." Okay, let's follow him. I thought we were going to go into the tasting room. No, we ended up in the back office of the brewery, and he had been taking people off the street. There were 2 Japanese, there was a Korean, there were a couple of Taiwanese, a German, and then the 2 of us, 2 Americans. And he was just kept passing out beer to us, and everybody was talking and laughing and comparing travel notes because everybody was traveling. Then he decided that we needed snacks, so he went and he literally cooked a duck dish for us and brought it in. And my nephew was just like, "How did this happen? This is so much fun." And I was like, yeah, you have to be willing to say yes to things. Mm-hmm. And, if something doesn't feel right, you leave. But if it feels good, stay and enjoy it. And we had a lot of those kinds of experiences that he absolutely never, you can't anticipate them. You just have to go with them. Mm-hmm. And while we were there, we were staying at a bed and breakfast, and I was admiring the garden. It's a beautiful, beautiful garden. And the owner said, "Oh, I have to take you to see my friend's garden because you won't believe it." So he gets in his car, takes us to his friend's place, and we see one of the most spectacular gardens I've ever seen. Now, they both spoke English, but not terribly well. But they wanted to know the names of flowers in English, and I'm good at that. So I'm pointing out and telling them what they are. And my nephew's going, "This is incredible. And here we are, and they're bringing out tea for us." And it was just an experience that you don't get if you stick to the tourist places. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And my idea of traveling is, if you want to get to know people, you want to get to know a place, go away from where the tourists are.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds like fun to me.
Oh, it was great. We really had a good time. We had a great time.
Your nephew would like to travel with you again.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure he would. I'm sure he'd be happy to, actually.
Your market research background, Did that play at all into what you've been doing and how you've been doing it?
Oh, yeah. Part of it is that because of that, I can ask anyone questions that will get them talking. And, I could, every icebreaker in the world, I can get people to talk. One of my friends once made a bet with me that, I said, I can get anybody to talk about anything. And she said, okay, I'm going to give you a topic. If you can get me to talk about it for 45 minutes, I'll take you to dinner. And if you can't, you have to take me to dinner. Okay. What are we talking about? Canned peas. Okay. Half an hour in, she said, you win. I can't stand it. So it's a learned skill. I think I was always pretty outgoing, but it's a really learned skill to get people to talk about things. Mm-hmm. And after years of running focus groups and doing interviews, and I still do interviews for a lot of things, it's very easy for me to engage people in conversation. So, it's a learned skill.
Okay.
Well, tell us about this third book that you're working on for us older folks.
Right. Well, it comes from all kinds of things. First of all, I'm going to say that I do all of this traveling and I have a horrible back. So we start off with, I have mobility issues and some at times really severe mobility issues. I've had multiple surgeries. Well, I've been asked by a couple of groups, senior groups, to talk about travel for them. And I've been giving a series of talks. And I've been on podcasts and I've been on live radio shows and all kinds of things. And I constantly hear back, well, I really used to love to travel. But now, I can't get around as well as I did. Or I lost my spouse or my travel companion, or it just seems so difficult. And so, I'm scared. The bottom line for all of this is I'm scared. COVID, all the diseases that are out there, the political situation. There are a million reasons that people have stopped really traveling or stopped traveling to anywhere outside of a very narrow comfort zone. And when I start to talk to people, they get the idea that they really can travel. And my goal with this book, I was writing it as a kind of a how-to, and someone in my writing group said, it's more than that. It's a why-to. It's a why-to and a how-to. With the idea that, yes, you may have physical difficulties. You may have a cane. You may even have a wheelchair. There is absolutely no reason not to travel. And the benefits and the rewards of traveling are enormous. People just forget about how much fun it is and how, I climbed Kilimanjaro when I was in my 40s, I guess it was, 30s. I couldn't do that now if my life depended on it. I mean, I can barely walk 10 blocks without having to sit down. But so I can't climb Kilimanjaro. So what? I can go to Taiwan, take a cooking class. I can, see people's absolutely gorgeous gardens. I can go to restaurants and eat fabulous food that I would never get in the United States. Mm-hmm. All of these things are these massive benefits that don't require you to be able to do what you did 20, 30, 40 years ago. And people forget that. It's like, well, I had such a good time. I backpacked. I'm not ever backpacking again. That's just not going to happen. And most people who are in their 70s are not going to be backpacking. There's probably a few people who do, but most of us are not going to do. And I'm certainly not, sleeping on a tent outside. I need a good bed. That's all there is to it. My back will not accept anything less than that. But so what? You modify it to meet where you are, but make sure that you're having interesting adventures. It's a question of redefining it for yourself.
I think that's really key, redefining what adventure means to us as we get older. So can you say a little more about that?
Sure. Adventure, again, can be eating foods you've never eaten before and that aren't even available where you live. And I've done that all over the world. Adventure can be getting into conversations with people and really hearing about the world. Adventures can be, I went to the Antarctic, but I didn't go on land because I knew my back would never permit that. It just was not going to happen. But the cruise was unbelievable. At one point, there was an announcement from the naturalist, go outside and look. You're not going to believe what you see. Well, we had gone into a feeding area for whales. And there were something like, and even the naturalist hadn't seen that many there, 70, 80 whales there. And you'd see these blow, then you'd see a fin, then you'd see another blow. Now, if you don't think that that was adventure, trust me, it was adventurous. And I was perfectly comfortable. I was freezing, but that's another story. You can dress for that. Why not? I went last December up to the Arctic, up the Norwegian coast on a it's called Hurtigruten, and it's a company that does this. And it was fabulous. We went there to see the Northern Lights, which I never saw because I have very bad luck with that. That was my 4th attempt. I'm giving up. But the cruise itself was amazing. And just seeing how people live when it's dark, because we were there, right at solstice, was absolutely an adventure. And being somewhere that remote and being able to talk with people, and almost everybody in Norway speaks English, and really have conversations about what it's like living in a place that's so remote. I was fascinated by it. I would absolutely call that an adventure. And I got my, my walking poles and my crampons onto my boots and I was very slow and very careful, didn't hurt myself, but I really got to see a different way of life. And those are all adventures, and they're all doable adventures. And that's just within the last, little bit of time.
Talk about traveling alone, because do you still do the travel alone?
Absolutely. The trip to Norway, I was by myself, although I met a bunch of people, when I was there, but it was me. I went down earlier this year. I have a friend down there, but it was me going down, making my arrangements in Medellin, Colombia, which was fabulous. Medellin, or Medellin, as they say sometimes. I think nothing about, I went to Chicago, just because I hadn't been in Chicago in a while, and it's a fabulous city. Now, the other thing is that I am on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram. And every time I travel, I post every single time. And I have acquired a huge following of very, very loyal people. And when I said I was going to Chicago, a whole bunch of people contacted me and said, oh, well, I'm in the Chicago area. I'll take you here. I'll take you there, whatever. And so I had this never met any of them before, a whole group of new friends in Chicago, simply from this. And it was wonderful. And then when I was not with them, I was just wandering around on my own, having interesting experiences. And I'll tell you what one of them was. I was going up to a restaurant that several people had said you have to go up to. It's right near the Chicago Art Institute, and it's got this gorgeous view of, is it the egg?
The bean.
The bean. And it's got this gorgeous view of the lake. You have to go there for lunch. Okay. And I'm by myself, and I had made a reservation. And as I'm going up in the elevator, I start talking with this young guy. And he said, oh, yeah, people have said I have to come here, but they didn't get a reservation. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, sit with me. It's fine. I have a reservation. They're not going to have a table for one. Well, he did. Turns out that he's an attorney. We had the most lovely conversation ever. He was from Ethiopia. Interesting guy. He was in town because one of his friends was getting his graduating from law school. And I'll never see the guy again, but man, did we have the most fun out.
I want to know what the restaurant was.
I can't remember the name of it, but it is right across from, and the bean, and it's but the whole thing was totally. It's saying yes to things and not being afraid, and not turning down things because maybe it won't turn out well. Yeah, maybe maybe I'll have a boring hour lunch. So what? As it turns out, it was a great hour's lunch.
The thing is, you do all these things, you do all of this on your own.
Yeah.
You're not afraid to just go out, wander around, talk to people when you see them. And you don't need other company to do it. You're happy to do it with you, Karen.
Yeah. Again, it helps that I really can break the ice with a lot of people.
Yes.
That is a skill, and it's hard for some people, and I understand that. And I have, this kind of recipe for how you get started doing this. If you've never done it before, draw a 50-mile circle from wherever it is that you live. Pick a town or an area that you've never been to before.
Mm-hmm.
If you're brave, go for a weekend. If not, just go overnight. Go for one night.
Mm-hmm.
Find somewhere to stay. Find somewhere to have dinner. Find something interesting in that town that you didn't know about and that you're interested in. The whole point is that it has to be something you're interested in. If you're into art, find an art museum. If you're into sports, find, a AAA or a AA baseball game that's being held. If you're into, or somewhere that you can golf, whatever your passion is, find the thing that you're really passionate about. Because when you get there, you'll be around other people who are passionate about the same thing, which makes it a whole lot easier to start a conversation.
Where next for you, Karen?
Well, I'm going to Mexico in August. And in September, I'm going to Ireland. And in October, I'm going back to Europe. And I'm planning the trip at the moment to Malaysia. So
Malaysia,
yeah, where I've been before, but I'm going to a different part of it.
Take a big suitcase. I'll just get into a little part of it.
Right. And that's the other thing. Carry on or nothing. I never change luggage. Ever, ever, ever.
so that's what fascinates me about going to, because you've been to so many countries and so many of them many times over, is that some people will say, well, I've been to Germany or I've been to Australia. They've been to one little easy stuff, but they haven't. And so you are really exploring the whole country.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like saying you came to the United States because you went to Disney World.
Right.
Right.
No, you really didn't go to the United States. You went to Disney World and you went to Florida. And Florida has got nothing to do with Maine or California or Texas or Chicago or New York or many other places, And Australia is enormous with 8 times, and I've been to almost the entire East Coast. I've never been to the West Coast of Australia. It's on my list, but I've never been there.
We like to ask our guests, well, how do you feel and think about your own aging? And it seems to me you've probably spoken about that quite a bit, but do you have anything else you would want to add about aging, your own aging?
Yeah, because I have these mobility issues, I am taking incredible care, which I always exercised. I was a hiker, always went to the gym. I now go to physical therapy endlessly. Thank you, Medicare. But I go for physical therapy endlessly. I am constantly doing things to make sure that I can keep moving. I exercise and I stretch every morning without fail. I have to. And there are days when it's harder than other days. And I'm constantly, going back to the doctor and going, come on, there's got to be something else we can do. Because I do not want to sit at home. It's just not what I want. And I can't even imagine my life doing that. I will adapt to whatever I have to adapt to keep moving.
Well, Karen, thank you so much. This has just been a pleasure, and certainly recommend your books. And we'll look. When is your third book coming out?
Don't know yet.
You'll let us know, please.
I absolutely will let you know. It's mostly written, but it needs editing and and I'm actually trying to find a new publisher, so that takes some time.
Thank you again so much. This has been a real treat.
Pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure. Lovely to spend time with both of you. And my word to everybody is get out there and go see the world. And the world doesn't have to be going to Taiwan. It can be going 50 miles away.
It's a great message. So listeners, make your voice heard together as we change the conversation about women aging. Explore womenover70.com and join us at Aging Reimagined Circle. And we have another podcast to suggest to you. It's called Aging with Purpose and Passion by Beverly Glazer. Are you ready to ignite your next chapter? Aging with Purpose and Passion is the weekly podcast inspiring women over 50 to embrace bold life shifts and unlock their potential through captivating stories from trailblazing older women. Visit agingwithpurposeandpassion.com.